Hello, everyone, and thank you guys for listening to Non Routine. I am your host, Mark. I am going to try to incorporate some of these really cool, I don't want to say cool, but sound effects, kind of spooky voice, and those kind of things, and some cheers, yells. Trying to figure this out. Again, I'm not a professional. I just felt like I needed to tell these stories for these non-routine, unexplainable police stories that I've been associated with. I've seen personally, I've dealt with personally, or I've been told by other officers. Uh, like I say it on my last two episodes, to include this one, and I'll probably keep saying in every episode. Am I a professional paranormal paranormal investigator? No. Am I interested in that stuff? Yes. But by no means am I a professional. Um, I am a 20-year plus veteran of the police department here in San Antonio. I've worked several years on the night shift from what we call dog watch to power shift. I've been involved in several routine calls and several non-routine calls. Uh, just to give you a quick, I guess, recap of what a routine call is. Again, vehicle crashes, barking dogs, neighbor disturbances, family violence, and even those routine calls that are shootings and stabbings. It's weird to say that they're routine calls because they are so, I don't want to say dangerous, but anyhow, they still title them routine calls because we kind of deal with those on a regular basis sometimes. Anyhow, at non-routine, again, I like to tell those unexplainable, strange stories that I've been associated with. The weird noises, the strange smells, the prowlers, the shadows, um, shadows in people's yards, whether it be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. Um, it's just weird. Sometimes it's just weird. The one I want to tell, the story I want to tell today is started off as a routine call. Um, as a law enforcement officer, some of our job, or one of our jobs, is when somebody passes away of natural causes, um, in their home, or like to say in the ER. A law enforcement officer has to get out, has to go out to that location and actually write the report. Um, it is a call service that takes a while to handle, just because you have to get the deceased's names, next of kin, social security number. You have to get their primary doctor. You got to call the medical examiner. You got to see if their primary doctor is going to um, sign the death certificate. You have to uh, get the information of the person that pronounced them dead, usually a paramedic or fire department, so they come out. So we go out with the fire department when they get called. Those calls of service also, especially if someone passes away, whether it be in their home or at the emergency room. Sometimes will hurry the process up. I don't want to say hurry up the process, but what helps us out as a law enforcement officer is if the family has already put the deceased, if they were on hospice before, because they're assigned a hospice nurse who already has everything already all set up together, and so as an officer, you show up and you talk to the hospice nurse, and they'll tell you everything's already done. They've already called the medical examiner. The doctor's already been notified. The doctor's gonna sign. You're pretty much just writing the report at that point, and then you just put in the hospice nurse's information that's who you contacted and where the body was going to go after, which funeral home. So anyway, on this case here, uh, myself and the officer that I spoke about in the first episode, Daphne, we show up to this house off of a main thoroughfare, off of near South Cross, down here on the south side. It's the name of the street, South Cross Boulevard. Uh, and and it was for an older male who, if I remember correctly, I think he had been working in the yard earlier in the afternoon. When I say elderly, it was probably like 85 plus. I don't remember his exact age, but he'd been working in the yard, um, and it was a hot day here in South Texas. It get hot. I don't remember again. I don't recall what season was, but here in South Texas, it's still 90 degrees in the fall. You know, we've had Christmases where we're out in flip flops and shorts, in the middle of Christmas. But so he'd been working in the yard, and he tells his wife that he was hired. So he walks in and he sits in his living room, and um, he sits down and he cools off. I think he drinks some water or whatever. He sits down and his wife says nothing looked out of the ordinary, and he just sat down and he had they had three little chihuahuas. Three little chihuahuas. You could tell one of them was the alpha. It was a little bit bigger, but they had three little chihuahuas. Kind of. She says that he sits down. The chihuahuas sit down next to him. She said she found it weird that the chihuahuas were whimpering as he sat down and tried to take. He took a nap. Uh, she said that she didn't pay too much attention to him because he said he was tired. So she figured he was taking a nap. So excuse me, I don't know what was up. So she figured he's gonna take a nap. So he fell asleep. She said she didn't pay no mind to him. So uh, she says a few hours later she comes back and she notices he hasn't moved and the dogs are whimpering again. So she goes to check on him. He's not breathing. She calls 911. Uh, EMS gets out there. We get called to go with EMS. Um, what do you call it? And they pronounce him uh, deceased. Um, when myself and Daphne come into to the house, there was a long walkway. We walk up, and there's this back patio, kind of with the like the netting, like bug netting around this enclosed patio. We walk in there, walk into the house, and the dogs are there. The dogs are whimpering, whimpering. You know, I think I'm just there to assist her in case. And unfortunately, sometimes when a family member passes away, family starts to argue instead of mourning the loss. They start arguing over whatever the issues are. A lot of those unresolved family issues will come out, and unfortunately, it's right there in front of us as police officers. In this case, and that's why I think if I remember, that's why they signed us both to go. In this case, that wasn't happening. I think the daughter showed up, and the son had already been notified that he was already coming in from somewhere from another city here in Texas. Um, but she's taking all the information down. The young man, the older man, sorry, the older man, the deceased wasn't on any type of hospice. He did have some underlying issues. I think he had diabetes, high blood pressure, um, some heart conditions. But again, he was 85 plus. Um, he so she's taking the information, and I'm just sitting there. I'm just I say sitting there. I'm standing there, and fire EMS has already put the yellow tarp over him. I think the daughter was there, the mom consoling the mom. Um, but the whole time we're sitting there, uh, I'm watching these dogs whimper. Um, they're crying like I didn't know dogs could cry or I don't say cry, but uh, feel I guess feel like that. But they were literally crying, um, and to where you could see that where their lips are quivering. Um, so I'm watching this and I'm like, wow, man, those dogs really, you could tell the dogs love that man. So they're quivering, and then I see them, all three of them. They walk over towards uh, because the old man was on the couch, towards the edge of the couch where the old man's laying, but they face, I don't want to say away from him, but towards the wall because the couch is up against the wall, and I don't I won't say it's like a recliner, but think about a recliner and the walls here, if you're like that. So the dogs walk over, and instead of looking at him, they look at the wall, and they're crying, right? And you look at I'm watching them. I'm not too far away. These dogs aren't aggressive. They're just crying, right? And I look over at the dog, and if you've ever petted a dog, they put their head down. It looked like the alpha was being petted, and I'm watching it and just seeing the way the dog reacted and lowered his head as if he's being petted for about 10 seconds, and then he backed up, and then the other two kind of did the same thing, like they were being petted for about 10 seconds, and then they turned around and they walked out. They had a little doggy door next to the patio, next to the door leading out into the patio, and they stopped crying and they just walked out. And I don't. It was weird, like if as if they saw, or the man's spirit was still there, and like I don't know. It was just it was weird to see the way the dogs reacted and to hear them crying the whole time we were there, and then they do this, and then they stop, and they walk out. And I remember looking over, fire was already gone. I look over at Daphne, and she just shakes her head at me. And so anyway, we wait till the contract ambulance shows up to take them to the funeral home. We got all the information we needed, and we walk out the back door with the body, down the long sidewalk, down the long driveway to the sidewalk to the contract ambulance. They load them up, and the dogs. I mean, dogs didn't bark. They paid no more attention to the body. Um, it was just weird. I just can't explain what it was, and I always just thought like that man spirit was still there and hadn't left yet, and he consoled the dogs, and it kind of told me it was okay. I mean, I don't know what he told them, right? But it was just one of those like, wow, to see it going, and it wasn't so much spooky or paranormal, but it was like, I guess, spiritual. You could say spiritual, being Catholic, thinking that, your spirit goes to heaven, those kind of things, and just to see him, uh, I guess, pet those dogs, his spirit pet those dogs. So I remember telling Daphne, and she's just like, nope, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And we talked about it a couple of days later. She's like, her being a spiritual person too. She's just like, it's, I won't say crazy, but she was in awe. So anyhow, thank you guys for listening in. Let's see if we can play with this soundboard. So anyhow, thank you guys. We'll mess with that a little bit later, some more as we tell more and more stories. Appreciate y'all.